David,
Yeah.
when did you start the mentoring program?
Well, I started formally reviewing. I think it was around November this year,
Okay.
but I received the email, the general email from the early for the Jure about this program around April last year or something like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was the start of the process. And I had to, at the beginning, maybe we're going to talk about this after, but at the beginning, I did an reviewing formative program from Elsevier.
Okay.
Uh,
Yes, that's a requirement, I think. Before
yeah,
you started the program, you have to do this
yeah,
LCV program.
yeah.
Was that interesting?
Eventually, it was really interesting. I approached it without knowing anything. I heard about the process of reviewing, and always wanted to get into it. That's why I was really excited to start the program on the of the Elsevier and then start to review. And when I did the course, I found that I didn't knew a lot of things. Some of them you eventually already mentioned, like you can sign up as a reviewer of other journals, as a volunteer. I also learned a lot about anonymity and what are the different options and different ways to approach reviewing in general and how to phrase my critiques or my approach for an assessor.
Okay.
In yeah.
Okay. And how many hours did it take?
Right now I don't remember, but it was not a lot. I remember doing it for like a week,
Hmm.
in like dedicating it like a bit of time every day
Huh.
and taking notes and everything. But I don't find it really heavy in terms of workload. So yeah,
Okay. And then when you finished the course, the LCV course,
yeah,
then you were assigned as an interested reviewer in
yeah,
the system of learning and instruction. And
yeah.
what happens then?
Well, I signed up and then I received an invitation to review a journal, to review a manuscript, sorry. And then they sent me an email of to contact my mentor. So the what I did is after being assigned to this mentor, I contact him and I asked him how he wanted to approach the review because it's free in that sense, since the mentors have different approaches, which I think is also really interesting. You go to a you reach a common ground in how to approach the review, which also helps to understand also the different perspectives. So I contact him. I ask him how he wanted to approach, and then we start reviewing. And it was a really easy process because we both took notes and then we put them all together in an online meeting. And then we discussed, he gave me feedback, his perspectives and everything. And even though it was like maybe 1 hour and a half, it was really instructive. And I learned a lot from that first review, from the second one too, but that's how the first one went. And then we both created a document, like the review, and we finally uploaded. That was the process overall.
Yeah, that was the first review, and then I think now you got a revised version of that paper already
Yeah,
in your inbox to review
yeah,
this version, and in the other and you
yeah,
got also an invitation for a second
yeah. After that
paper.
one, I received another invitation that just I think I submitted like a month ago. Um, and this one it was different the way that we approach it. Again, I received the email of my to contact this mentor. I contact him and we agreed to have like an online document when he was giving me feedback. So I wrote my perspective on the feedback that I wanted to give to the paper, and then he shared his perspective after I took the decision individually, so he was not biasing me, and he corrected a lot of rounds of feedback. He gave me a lot of rounds. Yeah, he had a different approach from the first one, so I really appreciate that because it gave me a lot of contrast of the different approaches that some senior researchers can have. And after several rounds of feedback, we perfected a lot the report that we wanted to give, which was really exhaustive. And yeah, and after that we resubmit. And I'm working now on the revised version of the first one, as you said.
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
very much, David. And what are the main learning experiences from both rounds of reviewing and mentoring for you?
Yeah, I found especially one thing that I learned from the first reviewer in Spain, at least in educational psychology, there's not a lot of tradition on pre-registration and open science, and the first reviewer was really into it, into open science and pre-registration, and he was suggesting a lot about it to the authors, and then I started to get interested on it, and then now I'm applying that to one of my articles, one of my studies of my thesis. So that's been a really learning experience and I'm really grateful for that because it totally changed my. I was already reading about it, but it changed and it encouraged me to take the decision to say, okay, I'm gonna do it. That is one of the main ones. Also, in general, because it helped me a lot also to frame and to structure being more critical with how I write my papers and more thoughtful about the way I write them, what is the content that I put, the things that I don't put or that I omit to be more systematic in how to report the information and transparent. Yeah.
Okay, so there is a kind of transfer to your own writing process or your
Yeah.
own publication process.
Yeah.
And does it also transfer to reading the reviews for your own paper?
Yeah, eventually, in the same time that I review my first paper, I was resubmitting one of my studies in another journal, and it gave me a lot of ideas to how to approach this resubmission to be more systematic. I see a lot of them, a lot of more mistakes in my paper after approaching this first revision.
Yeah.
Uh, so it was really formative, yeah, in that sense.
Okay. And one last question. You also got a second version of one of the papers that you
Yeah,
reviewed,
mm,
and you also got insight in the response
yeah.
to the editor and the
Yeah.
reviews. Uh, Was that an interesting experience?
It was really nice. Eventually, I started to work on it last week, and I was checking the responses from the authors, and they were really. I think it's really. It was a really good feeling to see that the feedback that we gave uh, was used to improve it eventually, and it was not dismissed in terms of they found it useful and they see how we wanted to improve the paper in that way. Um, so yeah, it was really nice. Also, another thing that I found myself really happy to see was to see that other reviewers have the same approaches that we had, and also to contrast what we say to with other reviewers, because that also make me more critical in the sense of okay, I think maybe next time as a reviewer I have to focus on this also because I missed it or yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, David.